Pre-trip inspection. Engine compartment. Engine hoses. Check for leaks, look for puddles or dripping fluid on the ground, under the engine and transmission. Inspect engine hoses for damage and leaks.
Alternator, mounted securely, not damaged, no dents, wires are secured, it's belt-driven and operates properly. Belt secured, not frayed, no visible cracks or signs of wear, no more than 1/2 to 3/4 inch deflection when pushed by hand.
Inspect fluid levels. Coolant level. Inspect reservoir sight glass or by removing the cap. Fluid is between low and full and not leaking.
Engine oil, locate dipstick and point to it.
Check that my oil level is at a safe operating range of above the refill line.
Power steering fluid, check the power steering fluid by sight glass or dipstick and ensure that it is above the refill line. Water pump, mounted securely, not cracked, damaged or leaking. Operates properly, gear/belt driven. If belt driven, say, I would inspect the belt the same as the other. Power steering pump, mounted securely, not cracked, damaged or leaking. Gear driven, operates properly. Air compressor, mounted securely, not cracked, damaged or leaking. It is gear driven and operates properly. Steering gearbox/hoses, mounted securely and not leaking, no damage, not missing any nuts. Bolts and hoses are secured, not leaking, couplings and fittings are mounted securely. Steering linkage, connecting links, arms and rods not worn or cracked, joints and sockets are not worn or loose, not missing any nuts, bolts, cotter keys or pins.
Front suspension.
Spring mounts and hangers, properly mounted and secured, not bent, damaged or loose, bushings are not damaged or missing. Springs secured are not bent, broken, missing or shifted.
U-bolts secured, not broken or damaged, not missing any nuts. Shock absorbers are secured and not leaking. Brakes system. Brake hoses, all hoses, lines, couplings and fittings are mounted securely. Not cracked, worn, or frayed. With no holes or cuts, they are not leaking and supply air to the brake chamber. Brake chamber securely mounted, no loose or missing clamps, not cracked or dented. Slack adjuster and push rod secured, not bent or damaged, no loose or missing parts. Note, for slack adjusters, the brake pushrod should not move more than 1 inch, with the brakes released when pulled by hand. Brake drums secured, no cracks, dents or holes, no loose or missing bolts, free of contaminants, dirt, oil, or grease, dog. Brake liners not worn, dangerously thin, free of contaminants, dirt, oil, or grease, dog. Tires. Tread depth, minimum tread depth of 4/32 of an inch, steering axle. Tire condition, tread is evenly worn, no cuts or damage to the sidewalls, valve cap and stems are not missing. Broken or damaged. Check tire inflation with a tire pressure gauge. Rims not damaged, bent, no weld repairs. Lug nuts are present, not loose, no rust trails around nuts or shiny threads, no cracks radiating from lug bolt holes or distortion of the bolt holes. Hub oil seals, check the level of the hub oil seal by sight glass or cap and make sure it's not leaking. B-card. Doors, mirrors and windows, my door is not damaged and it opens and closes properly. The hinges are secured and the seals intact. I would check my door window for damage and excessive dirt. Mirrors are properly mounted and secured. Fuel tank and def and cap. My fuel tank and def tank are properly mounted and secured and not leaking. Both my fuel tank and def tank caps are tight and not leaking. Lights and reflectors. My lights are clean, clear, not damaged, not missing, and are amber in color. And that my reflective tape is present, clean, and affixed. Catwalk and steps. The catwalk and steps are clean and clear of any debris, solid and securely mounted, not bent, broken, cracked, or damaged. Frame, no cracks, bends, broken welds and not damaged, no holes in the box, cross members are not loose or missing, bent or broken. Drive shaft, not bent, not twisted or cracked, U-joints secured and free of foreign objects. Exhaust system, no signs of leaks, such as rust or carbon soot, no cracks, holes or severe dents, connected tightly, mounted securely, no loose clamp. Tractor couplings, air and electrical connections. Tractor all fittings are firmly seated, locked in place, air and electrical lines are free of damage, not cut, chafed, spliced, taped, or worn, steel braid should not show through, lines are not tangled, crimped, pinched, or dragging against tractor parts. Trailer front air connectors are sealed and in good condition, glad hands are locked in place, not damaged, not leaking. Header board or bulkhead secure free of damage, strong enough to contain cargo, not missing rivets or holes. Fifth wheel. Mounting bolts no loose or missing mounting brackets, clamps, bolts, or nuts and securely mounted. Apron not bent, broken or cracked. Gapsit trailer is lying flat on the fifth wheel skid plate, no gap/daylight. Fifth wheel skid plate is properly lubricated, securely mounted to the platform, all bolts and pins are secure and not missing. Platform securely mounted to the frame or sliding assembly, no cracks or breaks, can support the fifth wheel skid plate. Sliding fifth wheel, make sure that there are no loose or missing pins, and that they are locked in place. I will check that the position of the fifth wheel is far enough back to clear the mud flaps in turns. I will check that the sliding cylinder is properly mounted and secured, and not leaking. Release arm fifth wheel, I would ensure that the release arm is secured and locked in place. Kingpin is not bent or damaged, locking jaws, or bar, hold kingpin in place. Locking jaws, fully closed around the kingpin. Tractor, rear. Suspension. Spring mount and hangers, check that my spring mounts and hangers are properly mounted and secured, not broken, cracked or damaged, and there are no damaged or missing bushings. Springs and shocks, check my leaf springs are not cracked or broken, missing, or shifted. I will check that my shock absorbers are properly mounted and secured, and not leaking. U-bolts, check that there are not broken or missing U-bolts, and that they are properly mounted and secured. Airbags/air ride, securely mounted, not damaged or leaking. Airbag mounts, bolt securely mounted, not damaged or leaking. Torque bars/arms, securely mounted and not damaged. Rear brakes system. Brake hoses, hose lines and couplings and fittings are mounted securely, not cracked, worn, or frayed. With no holes or cuts, they are not leaking and it supplies air to the brake chambers. Brake chamber, securely mounted, no loose or missing clamps, mounted securely, not cracked or dented. Slack adjuster and push rod, secured, not bent or damaged, no loose or missing parts. Note, for slack adjusters, the brake pushrod should not move more than 1 inch, with the brakes released, when pulled by hand. Brake drums, secured, no cracks, dents or holes, no loose or missing bolts, free of contaminants, debris, oil, or grease, dog. Brake liners, not worn, dangerously thin, free of contaminants, dirt, oil, or grease, dog. Tires, rear, drive axle. Tread depth, drive axle and trailer tires minimum 2/32 of an inch tread depth drive axle. Tire condition, tread is evenly worn, no cuts, damage to the sidewalls, valve cap and stems are not missing, broken, or damaged. Tire inflation, check tire with a tire pressure gauge. Disc wheel and spacers, which are evenly spaced, free of debris and not damaged. Lug nuts, check for any missing lug nuts. I will check for loose lug nuts by looking for shiny spots or rust trails around the nuts, and I will ensure there are no cracks or distortions radiating from the bolt holes. Axle seals not leaking. Mud flaps securely mounted, not damaged. Reflector tape clean, present and affixed securely to the vehicle. Tail lights, brake lights, turn signals, four-way flashers and reflectors. Clean, clear, not damaged, proper color for their location red. See card. Side of trailer. Frame, trailer, no cracks, broken welds, holes or other damage to the frame, cross members not loose or missing, bent or broken. No holes on floor. Reflector tape clean, present and affixed securely to the vehicle. Landing gear fully raised, no missing parts, crank handle is secure, and the support frame and landing pads are not damaged. Tandem release arm/locking pins are locked in place and the release arm is secured. Rear of the trailer. Check the rear of the trailer exactly the same as I did for the rear of the tractor, which will include tires and inflation, rims, valve stem and cap, lug nuts, disc wheels and spacers, my springs and shocks and airbags, my U-bolts, my springs and air mounts and torque arms, my brake hoses, lines and fitting, my brake chambers, my slack adjuster and push rod, my brake drums and linings, except for my hub seal, which is not leaking. Lights, reflectors, and tape. My trailer lights are clean, clear, not damaged or missing, red in color, and that my reflectors and reflective tape is clean, clear, present, not damaged, and is properly affixed. And if equipped with an ABS light, I would check that. Doors/ties/lifts, doors and hinges are not damaged, doors open, close and latch securely. A few general tips. If it's rubber, ABC, no abrasions, bumps and cuts. If it has fluid/air going through it or in it, not leaking. CDL, not cracked, damaged, or leaking. If it's mounted, almost everything is, MS mounted securely. If it's metal or some other hard surface, CBB, not cracked, broken, or bent. If it's glass, CCC, clean, clear, not cracked. If it's lights/markers, CCCC, clean, clear, not cracked. In color, say operate properly for the alternator, water pump, power steering pump, air compressor.